This is the 18th season of Bass Talk Live. With your host, Matt Pangrath. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Bass Cat Boats, AFCO, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, and Pro Guide Batteries.
BTL, coming at you!
Good morning, and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. Dude, we have a smoking week of BTLs lined up. We have Angler of the Years. We have $500,000 in earnings. We have Toyota Championships. And we have the man. I don't know, is it Big Fish now or is it the Beast? I think it's been both the Beast and Big Fish. We'll have to get to him, but he used to be on BTL all the time. It was like actually kind of a regular segment. And then we haven't had him on as much, but he's on today. Bobby, Big Fish Bobby Lane or Bobby the Beast Lane? We'll have to figure which one that is out. But we've got Bobby Lane on talking about, he's going back to the Opens, folks. Article came out last week on bassfan.com talking about he's chasing the Classic. He's chasing the Bassmaster Classic. So Bobby Lane going back to the Opens. We will get to that, but I would be remiss in the first couple minutes of the show if I did not mention Kyle Hall from Texas. He wins the Toyota Series Championship on Lake Guntersville. You know, we had Jody White, who knows all things MLF, on to kind of preview that show last week. It was interesting. We were kind of debating back and forth how much forward-facing sonar and the use of the umbrella rig, the Alabama rig, would play at Guntersville, and it turns out I think forward-facing sonar played. I do not think he used an umbrella rig to win it. I think it was like a swim bait and a small bladed jig. But Kyle Hall, dude, I do not know as much as I should about this guy, and we've seen a couple. I don't want to say come out of nowhere because Kyle Hall's been around. He had over like $200,000 of earnings. He'd been on the pro circuit for a number of years coming into it, had a lot of top tens, a fair number of top tens. But this guy reminds me a little bit of Dakota Ebear as far as kind of coming on and just starting to rack out wins. So Kyle Hall wins the pro circuit event on Champlain. Gets $157,000 for that. Through the Northerns, he won $20,000 this year, $10,000 through the Southwestern division of the Toyotas, and then $237,000 with the Phoenix bonus in the Toyota Series. So since August, since this season, he's won over $400,000 basically. But this year, Kyle Hall, $425,425. That's not shabby. That's not bad for bass fishing. So he's on a roll. I need to figure out, I need to get him on the show. That'd be a heck of an interview to talk about that, because that is some life-changing money for a young kid. So we'll talk about Kyle Hall getting that job done. I thought Castledine was in the mix for it for a while. He just kind of ran out of fish, made a run at the thing, was really interested in seeing how he would do there. And then Marshall Robinson coming in, getting a $50,000 check. And I also need to do a show on this because I've talked about it a little bit. I think Brent Chapman's kid won the Angler of the Year or co-Angler of the Year in a division of the Toyota Series. You have Marshall Robinson, who's Marty Robinson's kid. He did like $60,000 between the Toyotas and then the $50,000 in the championship. You have Britt Meyer's kid who's doing really big things. We mentioned Laker Howell. He was in that event. You had Jackson Rambanis, Fred Rambanis' son, who won like a major kayak tournament for like $13,000. I'm sure we're just a couple years away from maybe Bobby Lane. We're seeing another generation of Lanes come up, because I know that they like to fish there. We'll have to talk to Bobby about that. But really good Toyota Series event. Tough fishing too. But Kyle Hall ended up with 59.01. He won 20 pounds, $18 29 and then 28 on the final day. Over on the NPFL, they wrapped up their season. I kind of like going to Florida. I have to talk to Bobby about Florida in October because that's interesting because he's going to be fishing Florida in October next year. Bassmaster Opens go to Florida in October next year. Fall thing. Most of us are just used to going there in the spring, but Taylor Watkins gets his third win on the NPFL over the last 2 years, 69-14. The weights on the final day of this were incredible. He had 28-11 on the final day. There's a 27-pound bag, a 25-pound bag, another 25-pound bag, numerous big bags, but 69-14 for his third win. Gary Atkins wins the Angler of the Year over on the NPFL. And we're 6 minutes into the show, and I haven't mentioned that there is a 10-pound smallmouth caught out of Lake Erie that set all sorts of Great Lakes records. So I've done a little bit of research on the 10-pound smallmouth catch. Greg Gallagher caught it. Now, here is the interesting thing. We had Frank Scalish, the man, on the show on Thursday, and he talked about how he was on Lake Erie on Wednesday with his son. So I call Frank all fired up after I see it's like a 120-quart cooler, and there's this 10-pound smallmouth in it, and it makes it look just it's cartoonish how big it is. And Frank's like, dude, you know how Frank talks. Dude, you're not going to believe it. He's like, I think we were in the same, we were on the water the same day. I think we were within 5 miles of where that fish was caught on the same day on Lake Erie. So we're probably going to save it till Thursday to really dive into that because Frank was like out there when it happened. A genuine 10-pound smallmouth. It's crazy how we're seeing all these big smallmouth come in. I mentioned Dakota Ebear. I think he had one almost 8 pounds caught in the BPT stuff. But all right, we've made him wait long enough. Let's bring him in. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend. Is it Big Fish or the Beast, or are you the Beast? What is it? What do you go by now, Bobby?
Dude, whatever you want to call me, I'll take. But I do like Big Fish Bobby Lane for sure. But the Beast was kind of catchy there when you were saying it. So
have they not called you the Beast before? Was that not a thing for a while?
I've been called the Beast before, but my nickname's always been Big Fish Bobby Lane. So you can decide. You call me whatever you want, but I do like Big Fish Bobby Lane.
Okay, sure. So what was Ish? I thought it was Big Fish Ish.
Ish was the Big Bass Specialist.
Oh, the Big Bass Specialist. Okay, and you were Big Fish Bobby Lane.
Yeah.
Is that called an alliteration when you have all the words that start with the same letter? My mom was an English teacher for 35 years. Like the big fish Bob. I don't know. Anyway, how are you doing?
Dude, I am great. Happy Monday. And it is beautiful down here in Florida, man. We got a little breeze. It's still pretty warm, but we got about a 15, 20 mile an hour breeze, which in Florida, that feels like air conditioning. So it's a beautiful Monday. Kind of getting geared up. Getting things already ready for next year, man.
All right. Did you see this 10-pound smallmouth?
Dude, how crazy is that? I thought Dakota Ebear had a giant, the one he caught at Cayuga Lake this year. But when I saw the pictures of that 10-pounder, I'm like, what in the world is going on? Like, how many gobies has that thing eaten in the last couple of years to get to 10 pounds? And what's next? I mean, now they got a huge record to break. Like, that's somebody breaking like the largemouth record. I mean, that is crazy, 10-pound smallmouth. I would have never thought we'd see one that big.
And I mean, I'm no Great Lakes expert, but the age that it takes to get a fish that big and that old, like I always thought that it would have to be like a fish that had, so like, you know, occasionally you'll have those fish that have like, I guess just like humans too, like a dude has like an ailment when he's younger and then it messes with his pituitary gland and then he grows to 8 feet tall. Like right. I would assume that like a fish would have to have some like a herring nails it or something when it's younger and then it just has this freak genetic thing that grows. But that fish looked like proportionately like a 10-pounder.
It did. It was the most beautiful smallmouth I had ever seen. I do know I've done some studies down here in Florida. The phosphate bass actually can grow up to 2 pounds a year, but an average Lake Harris, Kissimmee, Okeechobee bass, dude, they only grow anywhere from half a pound to 1.25 pounds at the most a year. So, I mean, you're talking a 20-year-old fish, and I think smallmouth are half a pound a year, 3/4 pound at the most. I haven't done any math on that, but for that to be even a largemouth, that fish would have to be, in a phosphate pit, it could be 5 to 6 years old, but in one of these other lakes, that's a 10, 15-year-old fish, man.
Yeah, it's real interesting how it's kind of transitioned. I remember when I first got into this game, it was all about, Florida was still on the list there, but it seemed then it went, to California and Dixon, and we had Dottie and all those little lakes out there. But now it's like the chase for the smallmouth and spot. With what's going on out there in the West. Is Florida? Do you think Florida still had? Do you think there's a 20? Do you think there's a 22.5 pounder swimming around in Florida, or is it like, are we in a
I
phase where the genetics aren't there?
Dude, I don't know if there's a 22.5 pounder. I'm almost positive there's probably not one in the tournament lakes that we fish.
Mm-hmm.
The Harris, Seminole, Okeechobee, Kissimmee, in St. John's. I don't think probably a 22.5 pounder there, but I would say it's probably one of these old phosphate pits that haven't been messed with in a long time. They produce several 13, 14, 15 pounders every year. I think that could be a possibility, but man, that's just such a big bass. And we haven't seen any even in the 16, 17, 18 pound range in a long time. So, even up in Gainesville, up around there, they're catching some giant bass. And I would think if it came from anywhere, it would be like an Orange Lake or somewhere up that way in Gainesville. They have been producing some hammers up there lately.
What's the biggest bass you've ever tangled with, whether you landed it or not?
So the biggest bass in a phosphate pit was 14.3, and I've caught 5 bass that were 1 ounce shy in tournaments that have weighed 11.15 or on another scale 11.11, which would take you to 12. Never broke the 12-pound mark in a tournament, but I have weighed 5 on the scale that have been 1 ounce short of 12 pounds.
You ever hooked one of those, like what you would consider, like like in your heart of hearts, where you believe it's like I think Menendez has one of those stories where he was like, dude, I hooked like a 18 pounder or 15 or something like that. Have you ever had any? I mean, dude, you fish around those giant fish, and I know like a lot of guys don't like to talk about missed fish, but have you ever
Yeah,
hooked one of
I'll
those?
tell you one story, dude. I've caught 3 over 10 this year since September. I mean, I've caught some
Really?
real hammers. Yeah, I've caught some big ones. I've caught some really big fish this year. But there was a period on Lake Kissimmee where there was some really big fish being caught. Me and my wife were down there, and that day I had caught an 8 and a 9 pounder flipping junk, and I flipped in a mat, and the whole mat surged. And when I set the hook, it literally took me from the middle of the boat and walked me all the way, almost fell off the trolling motor, stripping spider wire out of my reel almost so fast. It's like on the tuna show where they dump the water on the drag because it's coming off my braid so fast, dude. And I couldn't turn this fish. Now, I have caught some alligators down here before flipping mats, but I am telling you, I hooked one, and when I got my hook back, it was completely straight. There was no stopping this thing, no turning it. It was an absolute giant. And I would think that's probably if it was a bass, I would say that was probably somewhere in that 15 to 20 pound range. I only caught a small glimpse, but I couldn't tell if it was a bass or it was like the tail of the gator moving. But I had just caught an 8 or 9 pounder within like the 10 minutes prior to that. So I really think that might have been the one.
And that was this year.
It was huge. It was huge. It was flipping a junk mat in Lake Kissimmee. But since then, a lot of 8 to 10 pounders. I've caught a lot of those, and haven't broke 11 in a long time. But I've caught 3 over 10 pounds in the last 2 months.
You're on fire.
It's fun.
All right. We've been teasing everybody. Gary, everybody wants to know, what's the word on the BPT next year? Everyone wants to know. That's what we came on.
Yeah, man, I'm taking a little chance here, taking a risk. I fished for that Bassmaster Classic for 11 years. Came so close so many times. The year Casey Ashley got me, I had a 6'10" largemouth that day. Came in with a big old bag. Caught one fish the first day. Won the Red Crest this year. Life-changing event. It's been awesome. It's been memorable. The best. That'll be the biggest thing of my career. I promise you, dude. That thing was just the way it went down, the way that fish hit 2 pounds on the final reweigh. But I go by my brother's house quite often in between road trips, and I have stared at his Bassmaster Classic trophy for years, and almost, well, it's been 12 years. He won in 2012, so it's been 10 years. And man, I'm hungry for that. And after fishing the pro circuit for the past 2 years, I really enjoyed the weigh-in style fish. My family wants to get back to a weigh-in also, and it's time. I'm ready to make a move here and see what we can do. I want to get back to my roots a little bit and get back to that classic, man. But Major League's been awesome. I've won a lot over there. I've had some huge success, and man, I'm leaving on great terms. I'll fish the Red Crest next year. Got the Team Series event this year, and just had the response from the anglers. Moving forward has just been awesome. Not one call has been negative, and that's what I love about this decision.
So all 9 opens next year. That is your tournament schedule. You are fishing 9 Bassmaster Opens starting in March at Eufaula, Alabama, and ending in October, I believe, in
Lake
Florida.
Harris.
Lake Harris.
That's right. Yeah, man, it's a good schedule. I like it. I like that they went to the 9. I definitely wouldn't be doing it if that was only 3 events. I wouldn't just shift gears and fish 3 events. But 9's a full pack schedule. It's something I need. Something I need to do is continue to fish and fish different bodies of water. We're going to some that I've never been to, like Bugs Island and Eufaula, Oklahoma. Those will be some new ones. But I love new lakes like that. And I'm excited about this opportunity. I really am. I'm positive about it. I'm ready to get out there and start fishing already. It's a full schedule. I just saw Kyle Hall win that Toyota championship, and dude, I'm going to jump in the Okeechobee, Lake Harris, and Lake Eufaula Toyota series for sure. That's a huge win, man. I mean, that's $235,000 for owning a Phoenix boat. You get that bonus money, and of course I own a Phoenix boat, so I am definitely going after that. And how impressive he was to win that the way he did out there in the river channel on forward facing sonar. Mm-hmm. Man, that's impressive.
Bobby, I gotta ask it. We asked Scott Defo after he won the 2019 Classic and then went over to the BPT. You are the reigning Red Crest champion, the $300,000. Now you're leaving MLF to go to Bass. Was it a difficult decision for you to do that? And I mean, dude, it's odd. It's hard to believe that in the last 4 years, if you'd asked me 5 years ago, hey, are you going to have a guy who wins the Classic or the Forest Wood Cup and then just completely switch tours the next year? We're living in weird times right now, Bobby.
Yeah, we are, dude. Right. Ott did it after he won Knoxville. That was pretty good for him. And, I just won it I won the Red Crest this year. So, yeah, it's weird. We got a little bit of back and forth going on, and it's no new news. We've kind of been doing this for the last 3 or 4 years, or guys have. We've seen some trickle one way or the other. I mean, it's just kind of the way it is. But that's a good win, dude. And to leave is it is a tough decision. But when you got sponsors that support you 100%, I mean, that's how we make our money. Let's face it. With entry fees and paybacks the way they are, there's not a whole lot of money to be made in bass fishing. But when you win one of those big ones, that's when you start seeing the dollars, especially on that kind of check there. But, it's nice to have the sponsor support. I love that part of it. Not one bit of it has been negative at all. I'm geared up. I'm ready. I just got me a brand new Toyota 2022 Tundra, and I can't wait to put that brand new 920 Elite Phoenix behind that thing, man, and hit the road next year. I'm excited about the opportunity. I'm kind of, it's almost like taking a step back for sure, but then I realized I got a big goal in front of me, and I got 2 goals. One's to make the Bassmaster Classic next year, and the other one's to be in the top 9 in the points. So I think goals are important, and those are definitely my goals for next year.
You mentioned the Classic, and it's interesting. You did mention the 2012, and I think that's probably, if I was to do one of the top 5 iconic classics, the Chris with the pow, with the big fish catch the knee, and then you almost tightrope, like you just almost tackled him when you ran out from behind the stage there after he had won. It was one of the most iconic moments. Like I put it up there with like the Van Dam. Remember the Van Dam Pittsburgh one with like the sparklers where he's like, after he'd weighed in like 13 pounds. I put that one in there. The Takahiro, the last minute Takahiro one. Oh, Bobby just disappeared there. He's back. And now he doesn't have audio. He forgot to put his phone in standby mode. Bobby, you're probably gonna have to log back out and then log back in. But just as far as the iconic Bassmaster classics, and Bobby is a big time part of that. He did then mention, and I didn't realize he was so good at Hartwell, but he did finish second at Lake Hartwell to Casey Ashley in that 2015 Classic when Ashley had the home field advantage, the underspin that he caught those fish on. But what I don't think a lot of people realized, and are we back? Do we have audio now, Bobby?
Yeah, man. How's that?
Yeah, that's good. But I was just talking about the Classic and that drive. So you have that experience with Chris. You mentioned he's got it, but I don't think a lot of people realize in 15 how close you were to that. You did have a massive bag, the second biggest bag of the event there, the 19-1 on the final day, but you only had 4 fish on that first day for 10 pounds and almost came back and won that. It was interesting when I talked to you before about it. Like you have the Elite Series, you have a World Championship, you have the Red Crest. Like a big part of this is a chance to chase that Classic again, right? Like, I mean, is that kind of what you would consider icing on top of an already historic career that you've had?
It is, dude. I mean, think about it. How many guys can say they won the World Championship, the Red Crest, and the Bassmaster Classic? There's not one angler out there. And the ones that are chasing that are Greg Hackney, Jacob Wheeler, Jordan Lee, and myself. I mean, what a mantle that would be. And, it's definitely doable. I know my times are slowing down a little bit, but definitely am mentally and physically ready to try to take this Classic into a feat. And the way I look at the Classic is it's one tournament. Angler of the Years, the young guys are definitely running away with those, and wins are always good. They're never bad. But the Classic is one tournament. You're not fishing for points, and you're not trying to just get a check. What you're trying to do is win that tournament. And I think, even the older some of these guys get, if you focus on that, knowing that it is one tournament and you're going to drop all your eggs in on this tournament, whether it's the Red Crest or the Bassmaster Classic, that's when you can kind of be a little bit older and still have a great shot at that thing. And I think it's a legend sport, man. I mean, we're learning more as the electronics come out, so I don't think there's a feat too big for any of us to tackle right now. Even though the young guns are pushing the needle, I think the older guys still have the upper hand in a lot of things, just like we saw at Red Crest when I made that switch to kind of go back to old standard, just fishing the way I like to fish, with the Fritz side 5 and then flipping a jig around, man. It worked out perfect. And I think we're going to see a little bit more of that to come over the years, because those guys keep whacking them out there in 200 foot of water. Eventually them fish are going to have to swim back to where some of us guys love to catch them.
That's interesting. Now, you've had great success in the Opens, 15 top 10s, a Bassmaster Open win, but you fished the Opens a couple years ago, all the Eastern Opens. I think you finished 10th in it, but it's been a minute since you've had a 200-plus boat field with a co-angler behind you, yep. only 3 days. Have you thought about your strategy, how you're going to have to change? Are you going to change going into the year where you're going to look for points, or are you just going to do what you've always done and let the chips fall where they may?
Dude, I'm going to I actually went to my son's Florida Bass Nation this weekend on Harris Chain and watched a bag line sit there for like an hour and watch the cluster that went on, and knowing that's where I'm back to. But no, I'm going to do what I love to do. I normally stay somewhere on the water on these places or close to a boat ramp, and I'll run over by water. I've done this for years. I actually, I started in FLW, but then I went to the Opens, and man, I loved fishing those Opens. I really did enjoy that back in the day. And I'm going to fish for 5 fish, dude. I don't care. I care about the points, but let's face it. You can't go change your strategy just because you're doing something different. I think Major League and fishing the all you can catch definitely has made me a more versatile fisherman. It's when things get tough, what can you do to put one in the boat, even if it's a pound or pound 8 or 2 pounds? I mean, that was the beauty of the style of Major League Fishing. Of course, now they've switched to 5 fish paperweight, but I think it's made me super versatile. And, I'm going out there to fish the way Bobby Lane likes to fish, and it's going to be fun to do that again. I promise you.
I gotta admit, I think I know you surprised me, and I think you surprised a lot of other people. Like I said, we kind of put you in a box as like I put like Jason Christie in it, or like I even put like a Stephen Browning in it, and we saw the success that he had. But you won everything over there with the Every Fish Counts, and I never thought of you like I think of like a Ayler or the Wheelers or that as the guys who just like pump fish in the boat, right? And you're always the yeah, but I got an 8. But
Yeah.
I mean, you did really, really well under that format. Like, dude, you made like $1 million doing that stuff, Bobby. Like, no joke.
Yep, and I've made $1 million catching 5 fish.
Yeah.
Dude, and I love both formats. I really do. And I had the pro circuits this year, and they had to make some changes with those and take the championship out. So that that was kind of okay. Like, what do I do now? Because I really liked both formats. I had the best of both worlds in that one, and it's you're right. It's I learned how to adapt to those, and I think God gave me a sixth sense to be a fisherman, and he told me, never count anything out, and I stuck to my guns on that, man. I'm like, what's it going to take to catch fish, and how it's kind of like Okeechobee. I always practice the north end and the south end, and wherever I get the most bites, that's the end I decide to fish, and I don't care about the size of them. I just want to be around the most fish possible, because generally that's where you're going to trigger the bigger bites also. So I've just kind of love to fish, dude. I love to catch them, and I like to. I really enjoyed culling them smallmouth up on the St. Lawrence this year in that championship. That was really cool, and putting them in my live well and taking them out and showing them off to a weigh-in. I mean, that means a lot to me, and I'm gonna give the Opens a whirl, man. I'm excited about this opportunity. I've been wanting something a little bit different, and this was my chance to go. I think the Red Crest has helped me with that for sure, and having the sponsors on my side is the reason I can make a decision.
You seem genuinely excited about this. Like, sometimes you have guys on and you're like, yeah, I think they're trying a little too hard to convince me that this is like what they want to do. But you seem like keyed up and ready to get back after it in the jungle of the Bassmaster Open.
Yeah, well, to me, it's not really a jungle, dude. To me, it's going to some big lakes and where you can sneak away and you can find your own fish. And when they call your boat number, you run over there and you catch them. And Matt, I think me and you talked last week that there's no more meetings. The weigh-ins are super quick. I mean, they haul your butt across the stage. So none of that part bothers me. That these lakes that we're going to next year, all 9 of them are well-chosen lakes. They got big. I mean, think of the boat ramp at Lake Wheeler. Good Lord, you can put 15 boats in at one time at Lake Wheeler. But these other ramps, Eufaula and Harris and Eufaula, Oklahoma, huge lakes. You're going to be able to go anywhere you want, and hopefully, find something a little different. And that's the way I love to fish, and I'm not worried about that. I'm just as competitive as I've always been, and I don't think that's going to be an issue at all.
Hey, I have I've never fished a tournament on Wheeler out of Alabama, but for some reason I have 3 very distinct memories. You were in these tournaments too. Do you remember the one where Yuski rolled up at Wheeler, and it was the day that there was like a tornado where they were afraid that the ramp and the stage and all that was going to get blown into the lake, and Yuski rolls up freaking out because this giant snake was in his boat, and then it crawled under the driver's side, and they had everybody from the service crew looking for this 5-foot snake in his boat for like an hour and a half, and they never found it.
Yeah, and I think Yuski still, I think he burned that boat and disintegrated it because of that snake. I don't think they ever did find that.
No, and he wouldn't get back in the boat. Like, I think someone else had to load it up, and it was right at the end of the year too, right?
Truck. I don't think he wanted to. I think he thought maybe it could go up the tongue of his boat and crawl into the back of his truck. I remember that like it was day one, and I'm telling you, that's I remember. I think it was Jason Christie that had a big rattlesnake or something on the back of his boat, or a moccasin or something. I remember that, and that's no fun, dude. Snakes aren't cool. I mean, I've seen a lot of them. I remember one tournament up in Arkansas where snakes would swim right to the boat and then go under the water, and I'm like, oh my Lord, when is this one going to crawl up? The fishing was super tough. I caught 5. I had 5 bites all day. I caught 5 on a frog, and I remember that it was like every cast there was snakes crawling towards the boat. It was so miserable. But so yeah, I do remember that. And Wheeler's a good lake, dude. It's got a bunch of fish in it. It's kind of been a sleeper for a little while. I think we're gonna see some surprises there with some really good bags. You know, and I'm ready to go back and I guess basically restart, right? But go back here and have some fun. But I definitely want to get in those Toyotas. If they're going to let me fish any of those invitationals, I'll jump in 1 or 2 of them. I'm going to fish, dude, and I'm going to fish 5 fish tournaments and bring them into the weigh-in stage. And I'm excited about everyone that I'm signing up for next year.
Was there any talk with Bass? I mean, you knew that you didn't fall under the Legends exemption. Was there any talk about getting back to just kind of straight back to the Elite Series, or did you know what you were getting into and knew that when you return you'd have to go through the 9-tournament Open gauntlet? I mean, it's just going to be weird to just see you out there on the Opens because you're big fish Bobby Lane. You get millions of dollars, titles, championships, Elite Series, and here you are. It's kind of like, you know, when Porosnik or Christie or Hackney or those guys went through. You're kind of like, what are you guys doing here?
Well, and yeah, that's where we're at. You know, that's what I'm doing. But I'm hoping, you know, social media is kind of taken over anymore. I mean, television's great, let's face it, but social media is where everything goes down now. We're going to beef our social media up a little bit. So, you know, I think when we catch those big ones next year, that, you know, we'll be using our social media platforms to kind of boost things up a little bit to make up for maybe some of that camera time that we're going to be losing. But you know, all in all, I'm excited about next year, dude. I'm ready for 2024 and see where we're going to be then. I'm hoping I'm in that Bassmaster Classic. It's you know, I hate being on the outside looking on anything, and I really fish hard for championships and classics and red crests and stuff like that. And not to be in one is going to be, it wouldn't be real cool.
We staying green next year? Or are we going back to yellow?
I think we're staying green, man. Durabraid is kind of growing on me a lot, dude, and it's growing on everybody. Everybody that sees my boat and truck, they're like, dude, I really like this. Like, it's grown on me a lot. And trust me, if you're not using the new Durabraid out, man, I'm telling you, that stuff's solid. It's got that little bit more bite to it, dude, and it's super impressive. My favorites, of course, 40 and 50 pound, and I put 8 pound on all my spinning rods this year for them smallmouth, and put it to the test, and it never let me down.
And Pure Fishing, big supporter of a lot of anglers on the BPT, also a big supporter of a lot of anglers on the Elite Series. All in, cool with you going back to the Opens this year?
Yep. Yeah, they're all in, dude. You know, of course, there has to be some kind of changes. I mean, Let's face it, we're going from where we were to kind of basically back to, you know, AAA league for the most part. So, of course, there has to be some kind of changes here and there. But, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I have been treated more than fairly through all of this. Like I said, all my sponsors are excited about this opportunity and told me, get your butt in gear and let's get you going somewhere quick. So, you know, that's the plan. I'm ready to do it, dude. And here's some super exciting news. In less than a month from now, we are going to have our kids tournament down here at Camp Mac, dude, the Bobby Lane Cup. We were at the Florida Bass Nation tournament yesterday, and he did a great announcement there. It's our scholarship event. We gave over $32,000 away last year in scholarships. Looking forward to everyone that's coming out to that. I mean, the support we get for that every year is amazing. I know we got over 300 signed up already, so we are looking for that to be a huge event, and always at Camp Mac, a Guy Harvey River Resort, where it's old Florida at its best, man.
That's awesome. I want to take a break, and when I come back, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the youth. I actually have a little clip from the BLC. It's been
cool.
Around long enough. It's the Bobby Lane Cup that we're going to show. If you're good for another segment, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back with reigning Red Crest champion and current Bassmaster Opens pro Bobby Lane. Right after this, it is BTL on a Monday, November 7th, 2022. We'll be back right after this.
Your key to better fishing this season is Elite FS, now available at a new lower price. Get Elite FS 9 today for $9.99, and we'll throw in a C-Map reveal chart. our premium mapping solution for free. Elite FS works with all state-of-the-art Lowrance sonar, from chirp, side scan, and down scan imaging with fish reveal to high-resolution active target live sonar. Elite FS9 and CMAP reveal. Offer ends August 31st.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
We're just about ready to go, ladies and gentlemen. Get in order.
Once again, Drew Cook is in the driver's seat.
When you're catching fish for a living, you can't let a little cold, rain, heat, humidity, or anything else get in the way of a payday. I wear APCO. Any fish, any water.
The KVD 100 jerkbait. 15 different colors. A perfect combination of roll, wiggle, and flash. Increased castability. 3D eyes. Premium black nickel hooks. KVD. Tie one on. Striking lures.
Elite Series Pro Daryl Gleason here. My Pro Guide batteries keep me going on those long tournament days and long practice days. Always plenty of juice, never fail. The best part about Pro Guide batteries, it's the people behind the company. They have over 40 years experience in the battery business, keeping all of us fishermen out on the water longer, catching more fish. Check them out at ProGuideBatteries.com.
What's up, Bass Talk Live fans? Brandon Polnick here. And ever since I won a couple Bassmaster Elite Series events on X-Zone Lures, I've been getting a bunch of questions of what makes them so special and different. And really, the truth is, it's in the details. The little details, things like no cheap fillers in their plastic. That gives you more lifelike action, more realistic and vibrant colors. But don't just take my word for it. Go to www.xzonelures.com and check them out for yourself.
Get the best patterns backed by tournament data. Start by finding the best 10% of your lake. Know exactly what to look for and what to throw. After that, just put them in the boat. Try the Deep Dive app today.
Get that beast right there.
We're back. BTL on a Monday with Big Fish Bobby Lane. Dude, it's no secret. It's crazy to me. So I thought there was a lot of opportunities. I'm 38 years old now, Bobby. I got involved with the casting kids. I went from that. I fish a club. I got involved in collegiate fishing. I thought it was awesome. It was the Under Armour College Bass. That's how I ended up getting a job with Mark, who didn't pay me for 3 years. But still, I was in the industry. I was happy, right? And I was like, dude, I got so lucky that I had these opportunities at this advancement that I was able to get in the industry. And here I am. However many years later it is, still in the industry. So I owe it to these youth events, these youth tournaments. Actually, the first tournament I ever fished, and I tell this story often on BTL, it was through a Casting Kids. I said, hey, there's a youth tournament in Illinois. Do you want to sign up with it? A random guy took me out. His name happened to be Bob Evans. He's actually fished the Redman All-American and was sponsored by the Bob Evans restaurant. But that got me hooked. I caught a fish on a pommy spinnerbait that you can fish as a buzz bait with Gorilla Braid. Remember Gorilla Braid?
Do remember
it was like the first I had Gorilla Braid. I showed up with a Browning Vectra spooled with Gorilla Braid. But I say that to say the advancement in opportunities for the youth right now are at an all-time high. And you have one of the longest running kind of youth tournament camps things to get youth involved, and you have to be pretty proud of that.
Dude, I am. We've been working at this hard. You know, we started 11 years ago with 18 kids, and you know, this year we'll have over 300 kids, and hopefully give, $30,000-$40,000 away in scholarships to give these kids a chance to go to school and what I love about it also is the people that support this thing. Nobody gets a paycheck, dude. We're all doing this out of the goodness of our heart, which means out of the 30, 40 people that it takes to run this thing every year, nobody has ever complained one time. I mean, it's unbelievable. We're all in it for the kids. We're trying to make sure that we leave this place leave these lakes and this outdoors in the place that, better place than when we're in it right now. And that's all we can do. And yeah, dude, the drone footage, the weigh in, I mean, it's all this came from Cuda Tools over there. Ray, he's phenomenal with some things. We bring Lurch down from Major League, one of the co-hosts there, and he comes down and MCs the whole event. But the kids are so excited. I think I know one of my favorite moments of every year of the event is when the kids take what's in their goodie bags, which is a ton of stuff. Reminds me of when I leave the Red Crest or the Bassmaster Classic, and you have to go to your room to drop all your stuff off. That's
the most
what we
exciting
want
part.
Kids. Yeah, dude, it's a lot. But we want those kids to feel like this is the Classic or the Red Crest to them. We really do. And when they leave there and they're down, the kids are down there on their boats and they're smiling to each other and they're swapping tackle back and forth. It reminds me of when me and my brothers used to, sell each other our tackle for pennies and nickels back in the day. We traded every evening, and that's what the Bobby Lane Cup does for me.
So it's a one-off? Like, I know this is coming up December 3rd, I believe. Can people in Florida still get involved in it, or how do you participate in this deal, Bobby?
Yeah, man. So the sponsorship we've kind of had to close everything down because we have to get shirts and
right.
Get all the sponsors on the shirts and whatnot. But we do a lot of that prior to this. But yeah, you can still be a part of it. It's $20 to get in the thing. For the team, I mean, that's nothing for what you're going to win. We give Chick-fil-A will be there sponsoring the breakfast. We give everybody a lunch. Starbite Startron gives all the boat captains a huge award. We got a power pole. We got Berkeley, Abu Garcia, all the new baits that Berkeley has come out. Every kid gets some of those, man. I mean, you name it, we got it. Every sponsor gets involved in this. It's just not my sponsors. You can still get involved. You can still donate if you would like. And, our goal every year is that's my son, actually. My son and his partner won the junior division last year. So
wait, which one's this one right here is your son?
I'm pretty sure if that's me and my dad. Yeah. That's, no, that ain't my son.
No,
I'm sorry.
I was going to say.
That's not my son. You're right. Sorry. But they did win the junior last year. I'm sorry. Yeah, my son won the junior division. He's in the high school division now, so he's got his hands full, and he's kind of like Dad. He's out there trying to win whatever he can. And they had a struggle bus yesterday on the Harris chain, and man, the ride back from Lake Harris, it was the old, moat time. So this is when Dad gets to step in and be the father in all this, and let's figure out how to keep him positive and keep enjoying what he loves to do.
All right, go into that because we've had I did a whole show earlier this year. I feel like high school fishing in some instances it has an uphill battle because of how many boats they're having out there. You get 99% of this is amazing for the kids, but I mean, I feel like there's a right way and a wrong way to go about it. I mentioned at the beginning how many of these BPT and Elite Series, they're no longer kids, they're young adults now, but they're in high school and moving on. But how important is that to you? I mean, you were talking about being in the car with which son was it? Is this
that's Bobby Lane III.
Bobby Lane III, BL3. There's the logo right there.
BL3.
How do you go about that? If you got listeners who have kids that are fishing junior tournaments, what are the most important things? What are the learning steps that you think are important? Because obviously there's a group of you guys that are instilling the right things into your kids because you're seeing the results of this from the nation level all the way through the professional levels now.
Yeah, I mean, when you were mentioning some of that earlier, Matt, about, I texted Marshall Robinson, told him to keep his foot on the throttle, man. I'm so proud of that kid. I practiced with him in an open at Lake Hartwell a few years ago, first time I ever met him, and we had a wonderful time. And hear about Rabanus and Howell and, Stephen Browning's son and Cliff Prince, and I know I'm leaving out several. several of these guys, Britt Myers. But so yesterday, you know, my son had a little bit of a struggle. They had 9 pounds, and the first day they had 12.5 pounds. They were like 20th, and yesterday they finished like 58th. And, you know, and my son was kind of beating up on himself, you know, oh, this and that and this and that. And I think, number one, I'm going to say, boat captains, I don't know how you guys do this. Sit in the boat for 2 days with your kids and watch them make bad casts, watch them get backlashes, watch them miss fish, tell them to skip it under the dock and they hit the dock 6 times before it goes under the dock, or hey, throw to that lily pad patch and they miss it by 7 feet. You tell them to reel it in and they're like, no, the fish got tails. They can swim over there and bite it. Guys, you are my heroes. I've done the boat captain thing. It is very frustrating for me because I want to be more persistent. I want to be more perfect on my cast and to watch these kids go through it. But I think as dads, as parents, as boat captains, it's our job to teach these kids to keep them positive. I mean, there's so many bad things they can be getting themselves into right now that are easy accessible through phones or anything now. That this is just a wonderful place for them to be. My hat's off to the ones that boat captain year in and year out, weekend to weekend. I believe trust me, guys, down the road, these kids will not forget it. And like you said, Matt, we're watching these kids go through the Bobby Lane Cup program. I know there's Jacob Wheeler does something like that. And I know one other, my brother does his fish camp. And then there's Mark Menendez.
Kurt Dove has a youth camp. Menendez. There's so many of these that are popping up or have been around for a long time.
Yeah, and there's one more Bass Pro Tour guy. I can't believe I remember his name. He's sponsored by Covercraft. Bradley Roy.
Bradley Roy just had his 10th annual.
Bradley Roy just had his 10th annual. So, you know, there is guys out here trying like myself, and we work hard at this. We want it to be successful. These kids have a huge future. I mean, fishing is going nowhere. When the numbers of licenses go up every year, you know, we're in a great spot. These lakes can handle most of the boat pressure. I think sometimes it gets a little overwhelming. But, you know, it's part of it. You know, we didn't have this when we grew up, and it ain't going nowhere. They're not going to put the brakes on this by no means at all. There's too many of them. It's kind of like the kayak tournaments on Kentucky Lake. You got to idle through those now from what I hear. But you know what? It's a good thing. Everybody's out on the water, which means what? They have to buy rods, reels, line, bait, motors, boats, you know, power poles, all this stuff. You have to have it all. And I think it's a good thing for the industry, and the kids are super excited about it. I watched them talk in the bag line yesterday over and over, and I went and talked to several of those kids. And if I didn't know them, I just went up and introduced myself, and it was neat to get the response I got. But, you know, they were all having fun, dude. There was no negativity. Oh, man, I can't believe I'm standing here for 20 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever. It's like a huge family, and I think hats off to everyone that supports the youth and high school fishing. What is that?
Oh, you got to show the cat now. If we have pets
Rainy,
that enter,
that again.
That is the
Rainy,
greatest thing that's ever happened on BTL.
This cat hates me. Look how mad this thing is.
Are you a cat guy, Bobby Lane?
No, this is my daughter got that for Christmas. I cannot stand cats, and some reason my wife let it out here on the porch with me when the door was closed, but I hope it won't come back. But no, the high school and college is good, dude. Rainy, that was not cool. But,
that was the greatest thing. I sense that. No, it sounds, and you mentioned it, but I've preached this: process versus results. At this age, at the Bobby Lane Cup with these kids, you're seeing success, but you're seeing success not because they're professional anglers' kids, that the professional angler says, this is where you fish, this is how you fish it. But I think you're seeing success for so many. Yes, they had that opportunity, but because you and Randy and Steven and Britt and Marty instilled the importance of the process. They didn't just make it so their kids could go out and catch them. Their kids understand the process to catch them. Because you don't have success if you're 19, 20, 21 years old. If you just have someone that's going out there and showing you how to catch fish, you guys are teaching them the process, the building blocks of it. I think that is the most important thing in youth fishing. Is not, your Bob BL3 probably learned more over the last couple days about the process of adjusting and making it, as opposed to if you had just said, well, you need to go and do this stuff, which you can't. But those are the building blocks that I think so many of the boat captains need to keep their eyes on, because it's not a 1, 2, 3 day process. It's years and years and years and years before you see it. Like, these kids have been learning this process for the last 10 years of their lives.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. You know, let's face it, the struggle bus is real sometimes. And I like to watch when these kids struggle sometimes, and you know, and to hear why they struggled or what they could have done different. I think that's important. I think they need to process through those days when it's tougher. It's like, okay, well, if you struggle today, what would you do tomorrow to catch them? You know, I think that's the message we're trying to get, is not only make you a better fisherman, but let you do it on your own. I think that's important. You know, it's easy for Bobby Lane to roll down to Lake Kissimmee, pull up on his best stuff and say, Bobby Jr., flip in there. I promise you're going to catch a big one. He needs to understand how to find an area like that and do it himself. And I think I'm a little harder on him because I'm a pro, you know, and I want him to learn by himself to be the best angler he can be. And I think boat captains need to be aware of that also. We love when our kids catch fish, but, you know, let's face it, if they get driven to a spot, every lake they go to, and the boat captain says, throw here, guys, they're stacked, you're gonna dominate. You know, I think that's good for the win, and it's cool to get the trophy, but let's face it, if these kids aren't doing it by themselves, the Kyle Hall, the Dakota Ebear, some of these young kids that are coming up now through the ranks, dude, you know, if you don't learn it on your own, you're really going against a wall that you don't want to go up against, because you got to relearn it all yourself when you get in the front of that boat by yourself. Because let's face it, that's when it matters, whether you have a co-angler or not. You know, when you start moving up in the ranks a little bit, that's when it's going to show the most. So have as much fun as you can now in these high school, college tournaments. I think they're wonderful programs, and I support all of them, and I'm so glad that these kids have the opportunity to do this.
That's good stuff, Bobby. I want to wrap things up. I do want to take it that step further. You will be fishing, like I said, all 9 of the Bassmaster Opens this year, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at the standings for the Opens over the last 3 or 4 years and see the established pros who are fishing the Opens, whether they're fishing them from the Elite Series, from the BPT, qualifying not. The top level guys, when they compete in the Opens, day in and day out, contend for the win, make top 10s, and make money in the Bassmaster Opens. I fished 20 some of these over the last 3 years now, and it has been a learning experience. I've been very open and honest with it on BTL. I've roomed with Bradley Hallman the last 2 years. I've seen how a guy who's won over $1 million and multiple tour events handles his business. I want to know what you think separates established tour pros from aspiring Opens and levels. What is the difference between that top level pro and the AAA guy that are both taking it serious, that are both trying to or doing this for a living? But what is that little bit of difference that we've seen day in and day out take the guys like you, like the Porosniks, like the Christies, the Hackneys, and the Hallmans over the edge that the rest of the AAA guys just haven't figured out yet? Because there's obviously something there.
Dude, I think it's a couple of things. I think number one, it's learn how to be consistent. I think number two, it's versatility. And number three is confidence. And if you put all three of those together, I think you're going to equal success. You have to know, no matter what you do or what you pick up or what you're trying, that you're going to catch good fish doing it. You know, for me, it's a flipping stick or, you know, a frog. I can put a frog where I thought I could put a frog where a lot of people can't. Believe it or not, they can all cast a frog as good as me now. But, you know, when to pick that frog up, when to make the decision like I made at Redcrest this year on Grand Lake, to go from cranking when the fish were just slapping at it to the last hour, make that decision to go catch a 6'3" behind a dock and the cables. I'll never forget that moment. And then to cap it off at the end, catching that 2-pounder. They were switching, and we watched the guys that were active target throwing the jerk bait on the brush pile struggle, and we watched a guy come from behind and just take it by storm. And I think we learned that over our careers. I don't know how many tournaments I fished. I'm going to say hundreds for sure. And I learned from my mistakes. I do know I came out, my very first BFL, I finished 186 out of 200 boats. So I had a quick check on that. I see you wanting to say it.
No, I'm just listening. I'm learning from this.
Yeah, dude, it's what we do. It's how we make our living. It's what we know when the struggle bus is for real, what we need to do to maybe pick up a wacky general and skip it under a dock, okay? Or, hey, I need to catch a 2-pounder to survive. You know, weights are tough. The second day after a front, what do? They were chomping during the front, right? What do you do? And you get caught up chasing, biting fish all the time. And I think it's the guys that know what to do when you're when different weather conditions come your way. When you're dealt with those experiences, we come over and over again. That's when our confidence surprises. And we do it so much when we get a pattern figured out, there's a light switch that goes off in a pro's head that says, okay, now let's find every spot in the lake that looks like this. And when we can do that, I don't even need to fish them. All I got to do is put a waypoint on it during practice, and I can show up in the tournament with 100% confidence, knowing that I never checked that spot in practice, but it looks right to just mark it and fish it. I think that's what separates us from a lot, right? Because a lot of anglers need to know, I got bit under that dock. I got bit on that pad patch. I got bit on this hump offshore. I'm going to spend all my time here. As opposed to me, I'm checking 30 spots offshore, 30 spots onshore, and 30 spots in between, knowing I can make a nice milk run. Here's what I plan to do. And if that don't work, I'll reverse it the second day. And a lot of times that works. So I think we cover water a little bit faster. We cipher through the water, but I think the more guys are out here doing it, it makes it easier for them. Kyle Hall, look at him. The 2E1 was on forward-facing sonar in the middle of nowhere. He can do that because he has 100% confidence knowing he caught one fish out there in practice, he said, but it was a big one. And he stayed out there panning around in 60 foot of water where nobody has ever fished in their life and dominated that tournament. So that's my take on it. I know that's a long answer, but those 3 words, confidence, versatility, and whatever the third one is.
I wrote it down. Okay.
Yeah.
This is gold, Bobby. So consistency, versatility, and confidence. Now I feel like based on what you just said, consistency and versatility combine to equal confidence. So confidence comes with consistency and versatility. It's kind of like a byproduct of consistency and versatility.
Yeah, I think you throw all 3 of those in there together, dude. And when you start cracking the code over and over again, top 10s, top 20s, wins, getting yourself in position, they become easier. You build your confidence. So you go into the next tournament, even though you leave a largemouth tournament, you're going to a smallmouth tournament that you've never been to. You got the confidence coming off the last one to dominate and do well. Be like, I'm on cloud 9, man. Let's go have some fun. And you know, when you get through life and you drag yourself through it and you get negative and whatever, it becomes hard. An angry man catches no fish. You know that for sure.
No, I know, but you mentioned something. I don't think you even realize it. You didn't really focus on your decisions for tournament days. You went straight to practice and how much of the difference you believe there was in practice between the top level pros and that AAA level pro. Like that's kind of where the rubber meets the road is in dissecting the fishery and being effective during that practice period and then implementing it during the tournament. There's a lot lost in translation between a Bobby Lane and a Joe Smith who struggles to cash a check at a Toyota or an Open Series, and they're already behind the 8 ball because they have not cracked the efficient practice code, right?
Right. Well, I like to just look at the water. Okay, if something looks good and it's got depth on it, I can save it and fish it in the tournament. I want to get I want 1 key bite in practice. That's it. Give me 1 key bite, and I can kind of start to know it needs to be a healthy fish, and it needs to be a 3 to 5 pounder, depending on the lake. But if I can get that key bite and it's in the right area, and it's something that I have confidence in doing, you know, frogging, flipping, slobber knocker, swim jig, you name it, I can kind of start putting the pieces of the puzzle together then. And there's nothing better. I'm going to lose my battery here, Matt, and I know
that's fine. We're about to wrap up.
But if I can put the pieces of the puzzle together in practice, man, tournament fishing is really such a fun way to go about it. I love knowing I'd rather catch a big one in a tournament and show it to everybody than catch it in practice and let it go.
That's good stuff. Good stuff all the way around. Bobby, thanks for coming on and talking about it. I know that was a big announcement, big kind of career change for you, headed to the Bassmaster Opens in 2023, looking to get the elusive Bassmaster Classic trophy. That would make 2 of the 3 lanes. I know Arnie's tried to fish for it before. He's been close through the Bass Nation number of times. I've competed against him too. But Bobby Lane, the quest for the Bassmaster Classic is back on. But before then, he's got the 11th annual Bobby Lane Cup, the Kids Cup, a lot of good information there. Greatly appreciate you jumping on BTL on a Monday to talk all about it, Bobby, and looking forward to seeing you in March in Alabama on Lake Eufaula to start things off in the 2023 Bassmaster Open season.
You got it. I'll be fishing a few more before then, and my feet will be wet and ready to go. I don't believe in taking the season off. I believe in the more I can put on the water, the better fisherman I can become. So, look, thank you, Matt. Thank everyone for watching, and look forward to seeing you guys soon. December 3rd, go to BobbyLaneCup.com if you need any questions about that, and go to our website to check that thing out. Thanks again, guys, and have a great week.
See you, Bobby.
See you, dude.
All right, that was the one and only Bobby Lane. Really good interview, very transparent there. And like I said, I don't think there's anything other than the guy wants to win the Bassmaster Classic. There are, like he said, he listed the number of guys. There are very few guys that have all the trophies on their mantle. And Bobby wants to be one of them. Very well liked. And like I said, there's a whole group of these guys that I think they're reaching that age where it's like, dude, I'm going to do what I want to do. There's some stuff on my list that maybe I have crossed off or I haven't crossed off, and they're either content and this is where they're going to be, or they're going to start going after what they wanted. And I think we've seen that with a number of the guys. Like, obviously, Christie wanted a classic. I think Hackney wants a classic. Bobby wants a classic. That's good stuff. And also really good advice there with the youth, with the kids camp. And I know how much work that is. So hats off to Bobby Lane. All right, we're going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, break down the rest of the week on Bass Talk Live. It's Monday, November 7th. We'll be back right after this. Have you considered purchasing new electronics for your rig? The type of mounts you choose to protect your investment should be part of the decision-making process. No matter if you prefer 1, 2, or 3 graphs up front, Beatdown Outdoors has a solution for you. Adjustable, versatile, rigid, and made in the USA. What's your ultimate electronics setup? Check out the full selection of Beatdown Outdoors products by visiting beatdownoutdoors.com.
Are you looking to install your own fishing electronics? Well, the Bass Tank is here to help you. The solution is the Bass Tank Power Harness. It takes the guesswork out of installation. No more voltage issues or interference. Designed by an engineer so that you can get professional results right there in your own garage. Installation done right with the help of the Bass Tank Power Harness. You can feel confident knowing that your installation was done right. The Bass Tank Power Harness. Give us a call or order yours today at thebasstank.com.
The new Android series is the peak of the Denali lineup and offers the ultimate Denali experience. The Android series features 36-ton multi-directional graphite combined with interlock blank technology for added strength. Each rod is outfitted with Royal titanium guides that will not fail. The blank is fitted into an easy-touch, soft-feel EVA foam grip with exposed blank reel seat. This all allows the Android to transmit every movement of your bait and even the most subtle bites. The Android series is the finest rod Denali has ever made and offers an angler the ultimate fishing experience with a limited lifetime warranty. See the full lineup of Android rods at denalirods.com.
Combining one of the most popular hook styles with Gamakatsu's beefier Superline offering, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend delivers the strength necessary to target big fish in heavy cover. Well suited for braided line and heavier fluorocarbon, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend is built using stronger Superline wire that allows anglers to easily fish a finesse worm around heavy cover. The round bend offers a larger bite area, perfect for any worm presentation, while increasing your hookup ratios. The newly enhanced Z-bend holds your plastics on the hook longer, reducing the number of pull-offs and reducing damage to plastics. Available in 2/0, 3/0, 4/0, and 5/0, this is the most durable worm hook, designed for heavier lines that hold your bait on longer.
Preparation is key to success. and that preparation starts well before you ever hit the water. You're only as strong as your connection to the fish, and your line is that critical connection. Confidence in your line every minute of every day on the water is a necessity, and failure, it's not an option. Sunline makes the fluorocarbon, nylon, and braided lines to give you the strength to guarantee your confidence.
All right, welcome back to BTL on a Monday, wrapping things up here with Bobby Lane. And yes, he did. I always remember the in fisherman, F plus L plus P equals success. That's back from a long time in the day. Fish plus location plus presentation equals success. Well, I think Bobby has just created a new C plus V. That's a combined one. So consistency plus versatility leads to confidence, which equals success. There's some sort of thing there. Who did we say here? Let me pull up the comments. It said, who said that? I just saw it on the consistency. Die Hard Anglers. Consistency plus versatility equals confidence. And confidence leads to success, which is kind of like a byproduct of that. So yeah, I think we got to go with that then. Consistency plus versatility equals confidence. That's good stuff from Bobby Lane. Hey, we had really good feedback, really good stuff on the show today. I need to do a Sunline Hotline show and kind of promote it as we move forward. Tomorrow, MLF's Marty Stone. You want to talk about that kind of the education aspect of it? Marty Stone, analyst for MLF and the BPT for, I think, a decade now. Part of the old team, one of the team guys, Advanced Auto Part team guys back in the day, early 2000s with Bassmaster and the whole ESPN thing. Maybe we'll get into that. I want to talk about MJS Academy, also the switch to 5 Fish. He has a reschedule from last week. He had some issues with the housing foundation. I think he's got that figured out. And then Bernie Schultz on Wednesday. Frank returns on Thursday for another live show as we march towards show 100. We're trying to get him in studio. Man, this was not the music I wanted to enter. I feel like we're about to be in a mosh pit. We got to get back on the original here. There we go. Bingo. All right, this has been another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live. Bobby Lane, thank you very much. Marty Stone tomorrow, which will be the 8th. But this has been another edition of BTL. Talk to everybody tomorrow.